All right, welcome to Church Folks Be Talking. I am so excited today, guys. We are here for a special Moms Be Talking edition. This is not my better half, but it sure might as well be. I'm sitting here with my bestie from New York, Miss Melissa Oracoya, and she is going to also be another co-pilot. But as you see, guys, I got 5 more. Wait, 1, 2, 3. I got 4 more. 4 more. It's 6 of us today, and I'm gonna start fanning. So y'all on YouTube, y'all already know how this works. And if you hear me in the audio and it's whispers of wind, it is not Jesus. It's just the band. Okay. So we are here today, and I just want to say, hey there, ladies. Hey. How y'all doing today? Oh my goodness. I got my bestie girlfriends. We got Dallas, Texas in the house. Terry, Washington's in the house. Let me give you a little bit of something about my pal Terry. I've known my pal Terry since 2nd grade. I know we're only 21, but it's been literally 40 years of friendship here, and I am so happy to be here. What qualifies my pal, Miss Washington, as a Moms Be Talking? She's a patient care pharmacist. Okay, she was the first person I knew that ever got a doctorate degree but never called herself doctor. I was like, what you doing with yourself? Because you better call me. Okay. But as humble as pie as she is coming from Dallas. She is a mom of 1, and so she has a lot of experience. She's a boy mom. Big ups her. Her favorite things to do, probably besides podcasting, is napping, which I think we all have in common. Okay, and the favorite drink. Pal, you didn't give me your favorite drink. I think it was a
non-alcoholic
There
drink.
we go.
So,
There we go.
but if I was
Non-alcoholic drink. Somebody got
an
a
alcoholic drink, it would be a margarita for sure.
Okay. All right. Which brings me right on down the block to my other bestie, Tiffany Bowens, because I know the margaritas be hitting. Hey there, girl. How are you, love?
I'm good.
And she's another bestie of mine. We've known literally since the 2nd grade. Again, we're only 21, so black don't crack. All right. What qualifies her as a mom? She is a boy mom of 2. And so that's amazing. Doing it all. She's a nurse. She's a senior. I'm going to try to do it without looking, but I'm lying. Senior clinical consultant working in the nursing healthcare field. Oh my gosh. Almost 20 years though, isn't it, Nick? I remember when I went to your graduation. 15 years, baby.
It's now 12 years.
University.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Her favorite habits are sleeping and massaging. And her favorite drink, she's so sophisticated. It's not the fall, but it's always cognac. And since we're here in the summer, Tito's and pineapple. Yum. So give it up for Miss Tiffany. That's my Nick. And then we have the Dirty Dozen coming around the corner. I feel like we're playing a game, some type of Hollywood Squares, because we famous. We got coming through my 2, I'm sure was my words correctly, my sayings. Okay, there we go. And I have Penny, Yoda, Patagonia, I played them wrong. Robertson, that's the light-skinned one. And then we got Angel Hill, which is a little bit darker, but still just light, over there with the white jacket on. They're coming all the way from Indianapolis as well. And what qualifies them between them? They got 4 kids.
Not together.
Right? So Miss Angel. Right. That's the truth. We're talking about the husband. I said that at church today, but neither here nor we'll get into that. And both of them have boys and girls, so that makes them unique. They get the double duo of that. So we thank y'all. What do y'all like to do? Let me see. Angel enjoys Starbucks white chocolate. Let me not forget, she's the president. I boasted because you're a CEO of Angel Speaks. Okay. She is a full-blown entrepreneur, and I'm not going to forget to shout out Dents in the Ceiling. If you have not gotten it, please go to Amazon. There is a beautiful background that says it is all about her 20 plus years working in IT. And so if you want to know about DEI and diversity, child, she's lived it. And so we're so happy to have her here. And then we have Penny, who is also my sans. I met her in college, our first year of college together. So we've had a 25 plus year relationship as well. And she's an occupational therapist specializing in hand therapy. All right. I tried to get her to drink. And so I asked her her favorite drink. All she could tell me was iced coffee and Panera. Okay.
Nothing wrong with that, Penny.
So, right. So you and Pal in the same boat. So we appreciate it. And so I thank you ladies for coming. And so I wanted to drill down into Moms Be Talking and just talk about what we do as moms, right? It's a hard job. We just celebrated Mother's Day. And I just wanted to glorify you guys because I was in church today, and it's important to tell people how much you care about them. Even though you don't talk a lot, I've always said this group of girls, we don't have to talk for weeks and months. But once we do, you would think that we just talked yesterday. And that's the importance of just sisterhood and just being there for your people. And so I appreciate that. And so I want to just get into a little bit about moms and how that means. But while I'm here, I'll start with my first question, since I already answered it. What does sisterhood, before we get into moms, because I think you have to have that foundation first, what does sisterhood mean to you guys? Anybody want to jump on that? What does sisterhood mean to you guys?
Like this right here. Here we are. Just being available purposely by invitation only.
Goals. Instead of trying to compete with each other, we're supporting each other, which you do see in a lot of girl groups competing. But true sisterhood is just being there for each other. Like you said, we may not go talking for 3 months at a time, but once we do, we just pick up right where we left off. There's no judgment because we understand everybody's got things going on, and we're just ride or dies for each other.
That's it. It's evident with this right here. I text 3 sets of y'all, and I was like, I want to have a Moms Be Talking podcast with y'all. And without hesitation, whether you were on break or whatever, you're like, yeah, what's the dates? Show me the dates. And I was just like, really? And when you put it out there, you have to hold yourself accountable. And so I thank you guys for just holding us accountable, holding Church Folks Be Talking accountable, and just being there to support. So I think that's really important. Penny and Angel said they're in the same city, and so they get to collaborate in the same location to make it an even set of screens. So I totally appreciate that. Anybody else want to add anything to that about sisterhood?
I think sisterhood has a lot to do with that camaraderie, right? That the fact that you are in this together, there's not as Terry mentioned, competition or anything like that. You see your sister and you know how she feels. You can tell what she's going through, sometimes just in the way she answers the phone, or even sometimes with the response of a text message. So you have a partner, right? And I think that's what sisterhood is about too, about that partnership and just there to lift each other up. And that sometimes you don't have to say much, but they understand everything. And I think that's what makes sisterhood so powerful too.
I agree. And so that's the great way to start it out. So in the essence of Moms Be Talking and motherhood, how was your guys' Mother's Day? Everyone have a good Mother's Day?
Not bad. I can't complain. I did not much of nothing, so it was great.
That's a good Mother's Day.
All I ever needed was just no kids and Netflix. There's a resonating trend on IG, and the parents are singing this song, which I can't say because it's Church Folks Be Talking. But they're like, them kids. And I'm like, yo, if I could repost that and put that on my story, in a heartbeat. Instead, I just sent it to y'all.
So much better, because Penny was like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I had a me day. I just went to the movies by myself." And I just went to go eat when I wanted by myself. And she's like, where were the kids? I'm like, at home. So I feel so much better now. I'm in a good place now where there's apparently other parents out there that are in the same boat. So, okay.
Oh, girl, yes.
That's what it's all about. I think Penny gets the award for having the oldest children. She actually has 2 kids in high school right now, so kudos to that. Let's talk about them kids as we're moving forward. Do you guys, as you're growing up, and we all have kids closer around the same ages, do you find yourself having a certain type of parenting style? Or do you have one particular style that you found, okay, I think this works, I'm gonna stick with this? How does that work when you're rearing the children? Any type of parenting style, or did you find the best method that works to get them to listen?
To get them to listen.
Right, there's no best method.
There's no best method. What I tried yesterday won't work today, so I have to switch it up.
That's a fact.
Right.
And
That's a fact.
both kids are different, so you can't
Yes.
do the same thing for one that you may do for the other. So that's what I'm learning, that I have to cater to one totally different than how I cater to the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, it changes day by day. I find myself now, so the old school, right, and how we probably were raised. I know how Frankie Terry were raised, right? How our parents was on that, and it was, you don't talk back. Children are to be seen, not heard, right? So I had to change that whole mentality because I want my children to be heard, not just seen, right? I want you to be able to voice your concerns, your emotion. We want to raise emotionally intelligent children. Mm-hmm. So that's my whole thing. I kind of switched some of the things that I was learning, how I was raised, and kind of, incorporate my own thing that works with both of them. So yeah, it like I said, it changes day by day.
And what's the ages of your kids, Nick?
My oldest is 12, and then the youngest is 8.
Okay. All right. Almost a teenager and still a tween. I'm sorry. I know. I just crossed into teenager land, as did she. December and March, and so we're treading new territory. Penny, how was that?
Oh my God!
With 2 teens, you said you were busy. Give us the scoop.
So I agree with Tiffany, Nick. They're polar opposites. Like if one wants French fries, one wants the burger. If one wants like broccoli, one wants cauliflower. They're just polar opposites. So I have to be different with both of them. One is athletic and doesn't turn his assignments in, and the other one is like on it and stays under the radar and gets away with murder because she stays under the radar. So it's just kind of, you have to be on your toes all the time. Sometimes you don't sleep much because you have stuff going on every day because they do different activities. So my parenting style is it just depends on the day, the time, what's the assignment, it just depends. So it varies.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Do you feel that because you have a boy and a girl, do you see different treatment of your children because you have boys and girls? Because you got all moms at the bottom, all boy moms at the bottom, and then Angel, you as well. You have a boy and a girl. How do you, as you as well? How do y'all do that with working with 2 sexes or 2 genders? Is it any different?
Yeah. Well, for me, mine is the age gap. So mine are a good solid 6 years apart. So I noticed that with my daughter, I'm more authoritative. So in terms of being direct and giving her direct tasks to do, and I don't let her.
And is she the oldest one, Angel?
She's the oldest, yeah.
Which one's the oldest?
So, yeah, she's the oldest. She's the teenager, but I've been like that with her whole life. Her whole life, I've been very direct with her, very task driven, very not too much wiggle room, right? To let things slide. With my son, however, he's the baby boy, so he just turned 7, and not just turned 7. He's 7. He'll be 8 in December. But he gets away with murder. I personally am very permissive when it comes to him. So he'll come and he'll be like, "Mommy, are you sure I can't have another, chocolate cookie?" And he'll bat the eyes and he'll do the smile and the dimple. And I'm like, okay, just one more. And in the meantime, my daughter is in the corner losing her marbles, because had that been her and she had asked for another cookie, I would have told her no. But he gets the yes. So it's really more around age, because in my mind, I'm thinking, he's the baby, he's the last one, And so I tend to baby him more, I think, because in my mind, I know subconsciously he's the last one. That's the last little baby I'm going to have. So he gets away with highway robbery.
Oof. Oof. Does that go your way too, Nick? When you have Braxton and Tyler?
A little bit.
Does Braxton get
Braxton does get away with a little bit more, but Braxton is also the child that I don't have to repeat myself 100 times to, right? I give Braxton direction, tell him what to do. He does it. He's great in school. He's great in athletics. So Braxton is the one you give direction to. He's going to follow that direction. Tyler, on the other hand, you can tell him 101 times to do something and he's not going to do it. He's the one I have to stay on top of with everything. So yeah, Braxton get away with a little bit more because I don't have to put as much of that effort into Braxton, So it is a little different.
I agree. It's the little ones. We have our last. Is it our last?
It is.
It's our last.
It is our last.
We have our last. Hope and Zarin, and Hope's 4 and Zarin's 5.
Oh, just
turned 5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just turned 5.
Yeah.
And I know for me, Zarin's like, "Are you sure, Mom? Are you sure I can't?" And I'm like, "I'm positive." And she'll come with something in her hand. "Are you sure I can't? Are you sure I can't?" I'm like, "Girl, have it. Just go."
Right.
And then my eldest daughter just flip like Mariah, just flipping her wig, like, "Are you serious? This is why she like this now." And I'm like, "Look, watch your mouth." Right? Just spoiled. I think a lot of it for me is I'm just tired. I'm absolutely tired. Okay. I had Zola in my 30s. I had this one in my 40s.
Yeah.
And I said, if I ever had another one, they're going to run a gang because all hell's going to break loose because I have no rearing. I'm just like, you raise yourself. You want milk? Go get out the refrigerator. Okay. We ain't got time for it. But that's it. You have to figure out how to maneuver and have those parenting styles, which are different. What about motherhood, or is there something that you got, or a parenting style, or something that your mother or your parent did for you that you find yourself saying or doing to your kids? Is there anything that you were like, "Oh my God, I sound like my mom," and telling your kid the same thing? Anything?
I think I've realized how patient my mother was. I always say this now, my mother was a saint, like truly, especially with my teenage daughter whose Faith is 13, and I have 3 children. So my daughter Faith is 13, my son Jair is 11, and then the last one, Hope, just turned 5. So, at home a lot of times with our interactions and the things that they say and do, and I think of her often in terms of how I respond to them, because I realize that my instinct is to sometimes be real quick with it, and then I realize that no, I have to be patient. I have to hear them out, because just like what Nick was saying, you want your kids to be heard, and you want them to feel like they can come to you with anything, so they're not hiding everything from you, and I realize that, of course, kids don't want to tell their parents everything, but I think I just try to be mindful of the fact that even if I'm disciplining them or I'm correcting them, try to do it, in love, like my mother did me, and then try to make sure that those lines of communication, stay open. And so those are the things that, I take with me. But yeah, her patience was next level. I'm trying. I'm trying to have her level of patience that she had with me. But that's what I think about, often, especially they can't always communicate their feelings. They can't always articulate what it is that they want to say. And so they may act out, or, it comes out in other ways. So I think just trying to have that patience is something that she had, and I'm trying to walk in.
The operative word is trying, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so hard. I never knew how blessed I was under my mom until I'm looking at my daughters. Just little things that I get. I'm like, we went to FAO Schwartz this past Thursday, and we went to it was a toy store here, and all this stuff, I just kept reminiscing. I'm bad. I'm not crying, but everything I was like, oh, I had that. Oh, I had that. I had that. And Zola's like, dang, Mom, Grandma got you a lot of stuff. And I said, you know what? She did. Looking back, as ungrateful as I was, as full of attitude as I was like, I had the best childhood. raised by a single mom that I could ever ask for. And, you know, I sit there and think like, golly, if I could give my daughter just a fraction of the joy that I had when I was young, I'm doing okay, right? But you have to kind of do that litmus test, right? You doing good? Are you feeling good? And I never thought about that, Nick, to do the emotional intelligence. I'm like, shut up. I don't say shut up. I'm like, hush it up. Go sit down somewhere. Relax. You know, I'm really quick to do that.
That's
because I guess
usually
just my
me too.
patience.
Yeah, and that's why I
Yeah.
had to make a conscious effort to not always do that, because they need to be heard. They need to get it out, and I want them to
Right.
be able to come to me. Yeah, so
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Especially in the day nowadays, right? You have to
Right.
raise the kids like that. Go ahead, Zane.
Yeah. I was
Go
gonna say,
ahead,
I
Penny.
totally agree as well. You have to be okay with realizing that you as a parent are not always right. And it's okay to say you're sorry to your kids if you totally
Right.
mess up, because we're not perfect. And sometimes we are kind of, I'm snappy. I don't know about y'all, but like, no. And then I'm like, yeah, I guess you can do that. Whatever, you know, or if I took something out of context, then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was wrong. And they're like, huh. Which then makes them more open to sharing, because they know I'm going to be non-reactionary. So if they say, hey, I did some crazy thing, and then they're like waiting to see what happens, I'm like, well, tell me more. And so then they tell me more, and then I have to like pinch myself so I don't react. So they keep telling me,
Exactly.
because I want to know the stuff that matters. I don't care about the other day-to-day stuff, but stuff that really matters, I want them to tell me. So I'm just being kind of open.
Right.
You know, things are different
Yeah.
now.
Where is the line, you guys? Where is the line you guys think? I know when I was growing up, my mom was not my best friend, and she said that. I am not your best friend, I'm your mother. Right? It wasn't until literally I hit 21. Remember, guys, when I was 21,
Yeah.
we went over to the casino for Christmas. We were 21 in Gary, and I was like, okay, now you're my best friend. You know, we did a lot of stuff as best friends together. But where is that line when you start to say, I'm your mom, but I want to open that door to be your best friend? And kind of like Penny alluded to, have you started that process yet?
Mhm.
With trying to become the friend, or are we still holding that out? Is that different from our age group
I
versus
think
now?
that maybe not a best friend, but like the other moms were saying, I try to have a open relationship with Carter where he can talk to me about his little crushes at school. He'll tell me, oh, my friend cursed when he was doing this, and I'll be like, oh, he did, huh? But I won't be like, oh, let me text his mama right now, right? Like I want him to be able to talk to me, as well as I want to be able to tell him some things, that you may feel like back in the day your mother would have never told you. So I want it to kind of seem like it's going both ways. Now I might not tell him all the grown-up business, because I don't think he's ready for that, right? Once he becomes I don't know, 16, 17-year-old, I may be able to tell him a little bit more grown-up stuff. But for now, I do have to still remember that he is a kid. And so, kids be talking. Like church folks be talking, kids be talking. Right?
That's right.
And so-and-so know what's going on in your house, and this person know what's going on. So you know. But again, I try to have as much fun with my son as possible. Even if I'm disciplining him, I'll tell him why, right? I'm just not disciplining you just because, right? I'm going to tell you why this is happening, what I want you to learn from this. Do you understand? That's something that I got from my mother, because every time I got a whooping, we would have to have a talk after. And she would tell me, that hurt me more than that hurt you, right? Which I hate it, right?
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh,
what are you
yes.
talking about? There's no way.
I'm like, you kidding me? I'm not hurting,
Right.
not yours.
You over there sitting fine. I'm hurting over here. But again, it was still, she didn't have to say nothing to me. She could have sent me to my room and we'd have been done with it, right? But that was one thing that I picked up from my mother, just talking about why the discipline happened. To keep keep the communication going, to let him know that I'm just not trying to be mean, like that there's a purpose for you I'm teaching you to learn this lesson. So so that way, this won't happen again, hopefully, right? So you can make smarter choices, smarter decisions.
Yeah. I like it. It teaches them, endurance. It teaches them the understanding of discipline, and commitment and consequences, right? Lord knows I got a lot of trouble back in the day for doing stuff I wasn't supposed to do, right? And not getting a real pep talk about it, just saying, you already know. Shouting out, Mr. Bowens, you already know.
You already know.
Coming for me
I
hard.
thought about that the other day, Frankie.
I was a hot mess. I deserved every single bit of it, right? But it made me the angel I am today. For that, I appreciate that. So,
okay.
Y'all looking for my halo? It's over here. You don't see it? I'm gonna put one in when we go in. Live. So as I think about that though, where do you guys or where do you get your mental and spiritual support from? Being moms, we have 3 married groups of moms, and then we have 3 single moms. That's the support. And 3 single moms, and I think there's a balance of how that works, right, in different dynamics. Because I don't want to say that because we're married, we have more support. If anything, child, pray for your married friends. We're struggling. Okay,
Yes,
we're struggling. But where do you find your mental and spiritual support? Where do you guys get that from to keep going?
Well, I think
A little bit of
the sisterhood, right? Your sisterhood, your other mom friends. We don't have a manual to know how to parent, right? We don't have a manual on how to deal with, all the stress, the superwoman capes we put on a daily basis, right? Only other moms get that, right? And so, I depend heavily on them, when I'm venting about something or, of course, sleep is my savior. When I'm really stressed out, I just want to go to sleep. Like, because if I stay awake, my mind's going to race like crazy. So let me just go to sleep and just start over. Let me just reset and start over. So again, that same sisterhood group of moms, because I got a couple different mom groups of friends, from whether it's you guys, my childhood friends, and I've got the sorority group of friends, then I've got the Dallas group of friends, and I've got, what I mean? So I've got different mom groups to kind of pull from. Because we all just trying to figure this out, right? Like Tiffany said, the way our parents raised us won't quite work today. So, and as much as liquor is great, it's like we can't only depend on liquor, right? Or we'll be alcoholic.
the alcohol. We all be that'll be our other sorority. Alcoholic Anonymous.
It's like you gotta
it's grape juice. Water.
Right.
Water.
Jesus made the wine though, So.
Right.
From the water.
Go ahead and turn that into wine right quick.
In the water.
Yeah. Right.
And I think too,
I agree. Anybody else wanna?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I found over time that it helps being honest, because in the beginning, as Penny knows, because she was actually physically there when I had my son, I was literally just trying to keep it together, right? Like trying to figure out. I didn't have a mental model. I'm the only child. I didn't have a mental model for how to handle multiple children, more than one. Like, I'm like, okay, I got one, and I was able to handle one for 6 years. And then when the second one got introduced, I'm like, how do I do this? How do I juggle making dinner for her, getting her ready for school, and caring for a newborn baby? And I was literally just trying to hang on. And Penny showed up to the rescue, like, girl, go to bed. I got this. And, put the baby on the hip and, cleaning up the kitchen and making dinner. And from that point on, it allowed me to be more open about my struggles and how, it's like, hey, if on the outside it might appear like I got it together, but it's a hot mess, chaos going on underneath. And as I sat down and had conversations and teas and dinners and connect with other moms, and they'd be like, girl, how do you do it? Oh my gosh, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're training, you're speaking, you're traveling, you're blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not, I'm a hot mess. What are you talking about? No, let me tell you what happened. I just got off the phone with my daughter arguing about what she's going to wear to school, and such won't eat, and da, da, da. And they're like, oh my gosh, me too. Yes. And then it all comes spilling out. And it literally just happened 2 weeks ago, where there was a mom, she moved, she's on a huge farm here in Indianapolis. She's got a couple of kids. She always looks so put together. I just assumed, I'm like, oh, the girlfriend got it going on. She's got it together. And I just happened to mention, a struggle that I was having. And she was just like, me too. And I was like, oh, right. It completely changed. I'm like, oh, okay. And that human to human connection of, I'm struggling in this particular area with, teenager, or which school to send my kid to, or, hey, as much as I want to say my kid's making straight A's, she didn't last semester, right? And I need to find a good tutor. Oh, same thing happened with my child. Here's a good tutor. But until you're open and honest, and you share what your struggles are, you're not going to get that help. You're not, and those forging those connections and those bonds is what I think is what creates the village that they all talk about. When they say it takes a village to raise a child, we now know how that I believe is the most genuine, authentic way to create a real village is by being honest with what you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah, sometimes just being naked about it, just put it out there. Sometimes, like, Frankie, I call you sometimes and I'm like, hey, can you just talk? And I really mean, can you just listen? And they're like, yeah, they're crazy. And then I feel better because it's cathartic to get it out of your system. Just to get it out and talk about it, because I'm not the only one. I'm not the last one. I wasn't the first one. And it's okay to be transparent. It's okay to say, hey, these kids are crazy. Emlyn kids, right? Just like the song said. But then you're like, no, I love them. They're cute, but oh my God. So choke, right? Probably choke them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely. I appreciate that, because one of the things that me and Melissa bonded over was just the love of everything, wasn't it? We were in church the very first day we met, was when Pedro got ordained to church. And I was sitting in the front row trying to look like I had it all together. I had nothing together. And I feel like the more put together you look in my head, the more you got a lot going on in the back. That's because you're really making up for what you're lacking with what people can see. Right. And I was sitting there and I was trying to take pictures, and she sat there and she was like, hey sis, you want me to take your picture? I was like, you're my soulmate. Of course. And then, we had the kids the same age, and then we just started bonding over just challenges, and our husbands are both pastors and stuff like that. And so it was just like, you got this problem, I got this problem. Man, what's going on with that church? What's happening with your church, And so the more that you're open, because I think that I say this all the time with Pedro and our church and just our ministries, no one can help you if you don't say something, right? You just set on fire in a closet, but you got to open up the door so someone can put you out with the extinguisher. And I think that's a big thing. And sometimes I think why we don't say something is because we want people to think that we have it all together, or we just don't. I don't know. Sometimes we don't want people to know our business, but I think it's better to share. But you always have to have wise counsel. You can't share with everybody, right? So you have to find your groups. Shout out, Pam, and say shout out to the four amigos, Adrian and Carol and all of them in Dallas for holding my pal down there. I appreciate them. I know I miss someone more, but Martha, good. What's up, girl? And I can't forget Smitty. I don't know where she at, but what's up?
Yes,
I love me some Smitty.
But Frankie, you brought up a good point though.
That's your
about Christianity. You brought up a good point about us being Christians and wanting to keep that veneer up, because you gotta, yes, we obviously, yes, even those that believe have problems, but to openly confess it, or for it to, be transparent about it, there is kind of that level of, oh, but I'm a Christian, I should have it all together, and I don't want people to think I don't if I'm going to be trying to, win them over or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah. There is another layer there when you're a Christian.
It's like an onion. You just keep on.
There is, and that's the whole reason for the Church Folks Be Talking platform. Is because I didn't have the arena to speak what I wanted to say. And so if I was thinking, okay, no one's listening to me, so let me make you hear me. And so I've discussed, I've been depressed. I've discussed, I've had suicidal ideations. I've discussed that I'm still grieving the loss of my mom. All these things that I willingly share because no one's ever asked, and how can I help other people if they don't know what you're going through? And I think that's the biggest testament. So as the challenges that you guys have, thank God for them, because you're able to help another mom that's going through the same thing, right? And I think that's so important for that. What's the best compliment that you guys have ever received as a mom? What's the best compliment you've ever received as a mom?
Jokingly, that my son looks like me. I love it.
I'll take that one to the bank. I never get that. So when I get it, I'll be like,
yeah,
my last one finally looks like me. I have two.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, I have three, and the first two are 2.5 years apart, and then my son and my youngest are 6 years apart. So I thought I was done. And apparently I wasn't.
I inspired you. You got pregnant right when I had my baby.
So it's all Frankie's fault. But yeah, she looks like me the most. And, people say, oh, well, that one has your ears. And it's like, okay, that's great. But I think one of the biggest, my son looks just like his father, spitting image. So, nothing I can do about that. I'd say my children are so ungrateful. I carried them for 9 months.
Like
at least they
right,
could do.
exactly.
Look like me. A little something. But I think the biggest compliment is when people compliment my children, right? Yeah. And they say, oh, Faith is wonderful, she's this, she's that, or Jair really had a great day. I saw him show compassion to this person, or he did something great. So I think the biggest way you can compliment me is to compliment my kids, for sure.
Yes, I second
That's
that.
A good one.
I second that. I've had strangers, or I guess people in the neighborhood that I, truly don't know, but they know my children, that would come up to me and say, "Are you Tyler and Braxton's mom?" And I'm like, "Oh God, yes." What do they do now?
What they do now?
Like, no,
let me call the cops. Let me get ready.
They're so kind. They're respectful. They're they're thoughtful. So those are great compliments. I'm like, oh, okay. So what I am teaching, they are learning and they're practicing outside of the home. So that's great.
Yes, that's how it works.
And then you run in your house, you're like, thank you, Jesus.
Right.
Thank you, God. I thought it was gonna be something else. Right. Yeah, that's amazing. What about you guys? Angel and Penny? What's some of the best compliments you've received as a mom?
I would agree with what Melissa said. I do, however, when people say, "Oh my gosh, your daughter's so cute," I'm like, because she looks like her mom. Or if they're like, "She looks like her mom," I'm like, "She's so cute." I say that with both the kids. It's like maybe I make my own compliment. I just put out.
Why not?
Because they do.
Why
They
not?
look like me. It's a better version.
I'm not mad at that. Okay. It gets like that sometimes.
It works both ways. Reciprocal. It works both ways.
I think for me is when for my oldest, Mariah, she went over to her friend's house, 2 different friends' houses, and they came back and they were like, "Oh my word, that girl can pray." Like, we just opened it up for a simple little, have, a little grace before a meal. And this girl went all in. And I was like, that's her spiritual gift. I'm like, she can pray. So I love that. And then with DJ, I always get like, my stomach gets in a knot because it's so different at home than he is outside. Exactly what you were saying, Tiffany. So, you know, when he's at home, I just had to tell him the other day, I'm like, honey, when you come up to a door, you have to knock. You can't just be barging in and, you know, demanding what you want. Like, honey, I want some cereal. And I'm like, well, let me give you some manners here, right? But then when he goes outside, teachers, the principal, other people are like, oh, he's so mannerable. He's always saying please and thank you and may I. I was like, he is?
Really?
He knows those words? Oh, okay. Well, I guess working, again, outside, then we just got to practice now.
The carryover.
Yeah, just...
Thank God. Thank God for that. And he's always on 10 when he's out, but then he comes home, he's like, let me just take a break. And
I guess that must be it.
Nobody got time for politeness. Nobody got time for niceties. Give my damn mac and cheese, okay?
Now.
So I gotta look. My 5-year-old, when I think she reminds me of Hope. When she wants something, I don't give it to her. She be like, "Bruh."
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that's what we're doing,
Bruh.
That's a New York thing. I guess.
Bruh.
It's all the kids.
all over the
It's
country.
It's all over.
Oh, okay.
All over.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am not your bro.
I'm like,
Who are you
what?
talking to?
That's right.
Or she watches Bluey and she doesn't get her mac and cheese. She's like, oh, biscuits. I'm like,
That's
you know what?
cute,
I know that's
though.
a WTF in there somewhere. I ain't got time for it. But
That's cute.
Snippet.
I'm like, how are y'all so bothered? Because you don't get mac and cheese. You know, it is what it is. Those are really great compliments. I think those are great. I was thinking for my response, I was just going to say I love it when it has nothing to do with my children. It's really about me. Surprise, surprise. But they'll say, oh, you remind me of your mom, or you do this just like your mom. And I'm just like, I'm going to bed happy. My work is done for the day, sweet Jesus. Anything that gives me that type of compliment about her, I'm just like, I appreciate that. Even though she was dead wrong sometimes in some of her rearing, it's all right. I still love her, you know.
The end result.
Somebody's got to beat the butt. The end,
Right.
it's where you end up, not where you begin.
Yeah.
Am I right? Am I
You're
right? What are some pivotal lessons? As I'm gonna give you guys a few more, and then we can wrap it up. But what are some pivotal lessons that you guys have learned just by being a mom? I know it's such a humbling experience, and as Terry said, as Pal said, you don't get a memo book for this. You don't really get a manual sheet for this. But what are some of those pivotal lessons that you've learned that has really humbled you down and said, okay, we stuck with these kids.
I'm not right. I'm not always
figure
right.
this out. What are some humbling lessons?
Yeah. I would like to be right all the time, but I'm not. And it's okay to admit that. And once you realize it's okay to admit that, and you actually admit that and actually humble yourself in front of your children sometimes, which sounds crazy to do, just by saying, I'm sorry, it's a game changer. It's like they put their guard down and no longer becomes a back and forth. It becomes, all right, my mom's kind of human. All right, I can tell her stuff. I can tell her what my feelings are hurt and know that she's going to respond in a certain way. And if she's really hurt my feelings, she's really going to listen because she really cares. And likewise, if I tell my kids, like, hey, you are really hurting my feelings, they're going to stop and be like, really? Okay. And I tell them what I need from them. You know, aside from the day-to-day stuff, like the serious stuff, they actually listen. And so just kind of being the bigger person, I guess, because you are the bigger person, and just taking a step back and be like, hey, it's okay to admit that you're not right? You know, you can say, hey, I'm wrong. That doesn't change the fact that you need to do what I asked you to do. So do that.
Do you admit that to your kids, or do you just admit that to yourself? Like, okay, I was wrong, or do you say it out loud?
I say it out loud and bluntly.
You say I'm wrong out loud?
Yep. I was like, yep. And it might take a day, or it may be right like immediately, but I'll say, hey, yeah, I was wrong. I should have said that. My bad. You know, and this is what we're going to do to fix this, and this is what I'll do to be better. Because I let them know that it's okay to take responsibility, so they can try to do better, not just keep, you know, because you know how Ron is. He's like, he got something to say about everything all the time, instead of just shutting up and being like, okay, Mom. He has to say 100 things after that. Lizzie, my daughter, she's way better. She knows that she just shuts her mouth, right, and just listens. That, you know, we'll kind of get there quicker. But oh my gosh, I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken away.
I got to do that. I don't admit that I'm wrong in my marriage. Okay, so I showed them I'm about to do it to my children.
It's hard. It's hard. It's so hard.
So that's a lesson I got to learn.
You know what?
Penny, you've been working on me. I know you've been praying for me.
Every day, all the time. Okay.
There's a delay on that.
There's a delay in that message.
I think
Go ahead,
that
pal.
we, as moms, we have this "I'm gonna figure it out," right, mentality. No matter what's going on with this, the kids, the house, the job, I'm gonna figure it out, right? Well, I realized that sometimes I don't have the answer, right? And so for my son, one of the things that we just kind of noticed is that, you know, he takes stuff so hard, right? You just feel like, come on, boy, you know, don't be so sensitive. You know, anytime like he gets disciplined, it's like, oh, like the world is over. He gets a B on the test. Oh, the world is over. It's like he's putting more stress on himself than he needs to. And so his dad and I, you know, we talk about it. It's like, you know, because I'm not like my mom in a sense that my mom was a yeller like all the time. Right? And so I'm not like that.
Both of our moms are just the exact same.
That's that
same birthday and everything.
Okay? Yeah. And I was just like, right. I try not to.
Oh, yes, she did.
I try not to do that. And of course, because, you know, I'm co-parenting, you know, me and my ex are divorced. So I don't know what's happening in his house and he doesn't know what's happening in my house. But, you know, I know he's a little bit harder on my son than me. But we had to get help. We had to step out the box, and we signed him up to see a counselor to figure out how to deal with better coping mechanisms, gain better coping mechanisms to deal with this low-key anxiety, depression kind of that he's putting on himself. Now, don't get me wrong, he won't be in that mode for a long period of time, you know, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, until he gets his little pep talk. But, you know, we want to prepare him for life. You know, he's 10 years old now, but he's grown up in this crazy world as a Black male. The world's gonna chew you up and spit you out, honey. You got to be able to deal with whatever's coming your way. And you've got to learn how to cope better, you know? And so I looked up the term, I think it's called a super sensor, is what he's labeled as, a super sensor, where he just feels, you know, he feels other people's, you know, pain and whatever. And he also just takes different situations harder than what I would think he would, you know? And so we've got him going to counseling to try to figure it out, you know, because again, I couldn't do it. His dad couldn't do it. No matter how nice we were being when it was time to talk to him about something he did wrong, it didn't help, you know? So it's like, sometimes you just got to know you don't have it. Your mom's circle don't have it, you know? Nobody knows. We all dealing with super sensitive kids, you know? Well, what are you doing wrong? You know? And so sometimes you do have to step out and get professional help. Lord knows we all could probably sit on the couch for one reason or another to talk to a therapist ourselves. So
and do.
So it's like, you know, when I first signed him up, he was like, I gotta see a counselor. I gotta, you know, because it's such a negative connotation when you hear, oh, somebody's going to therapy, right? And it was just, I had to explain to him, it's not like you're doing wrong, right? This is to help you, you know, to change the mindset of therapy, because you know, he was kind of reluctant at first, but we want him to be open.
Yeah.
You know, we found a therapist that's a male that looks like him, you know, somebody he can relate to, so he could actually talk to, and somebody who understands what it means to be like him, right? So just trying to figure it out. So
I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
I agree on that therapy thing. I had to do the same thing with Tyler, right? Something I think I should have did after the divorce, right? As maybe even before the divorce happened. we probably would have benefited him better if I had got him some counseling, right? Because what I was doing wasn't working. So I was like, okay, I need some extra help. So stepping outside that box and having them talk to someone else, because hearing the same thing, like we could tell our children the same thing 100 times, right? They hear that same exact message from someone else, it hits different.
Yep. Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's what I needed. I needed for it to hit. I don't care how it's going to hit you, but I need you to get it, right? And if it's not coming from me, we'll have to come from someone else. So yes, reaching out and getting that extra help if you need to, I'm all for it. And it's very beneficial. Like Terry said, it's you trying to raise these children. You're going to be a child for so long, right? You're going to be an adult, God willing, majority of your life. So I'm trying to prepare you for this cruel world, and you have to be ready to receive it. And trying to figure out those emotions and what you're feeling and how to deal with those emotions on the right scale, right? Because Tyler was on the verge of what I think, like Terry said, like what I think, how he reacting for something is like over the top, in my opinion, right? Like that's not how I would do it, but we're all different, right? So I need you to understand why you're acting that way, and let's find the proper channels to deal with emotions, right? So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, my daughter has.
I love that. Zola had asked me. Go ahead, Penny.
I was saying my daughter has started seeing somebody too, and so we were talking about it for a little while about her going to somebody, and then my ex-husband, he found somebody. She's like, Mom, she found this old white lady. He found this old white lady. There's nothing we can relate to. So we went back to the person that I initially had suggested, and she loves her, and we do a non-traditional type of setup. So like she'll actually pick my daughter up, or they'll meet somewhere, and then have coffee. Like they'll get Starbucks, the $20 cup that I don't normally buy her. I'll let her get it, and then they talk. And then I openly said, hey, this person will never tell me what you guys talk about unless it's detrimental. Right. And so Lizzie and her now set up their own meetings, and then they just make sure that I have the money to let them go get something to eat and pay her and whatever. So we absolutely do that as well. But I gave her more power with it, and she's fabulous too. If you are interested, for Mariah, so she's awesome, and they just she looks like her. That's the other part.
That makes a big difference. Yeah.
Representation matters. Representation really matters. I was going to say last year when Zola took her her annual physical, this is how you know they're getting older. The doctor says, Mom, I need you to step out the room for a little bit so we can have a conversation. I'm like, well, she ain't gonna no vagina check. What we doing over here? But okay. Yeah. I was reluctant. So I might have to edit that one out.
No vagina check.
So take a sip of that one. But she after I came back in, she let Zola go up to the front, and she sat down with me and she said, I think we need to look into getting Zola some mental health, some therapies or something like that. And I said, okay. Then I turned into my mom. Therapy, she needs some therapy. What's wrong with her? Everything's fine. And I really got defensive. Like, what did I do wrong as a parent? And I really grieved for like a week for that, because I was like, babe, what are we doing? I know New York is hard, but oh my God, what did we do wrong? That was my weight to carry. And then, she still hasn't started because it's a wait list, but she's had a few like Zoom calls because we wanted to go in person. But like you, Nick, hindsight, I should have got her therapy when my mom passed, because that's when kind of her countenance really, really shriveled down. They were two peas in a pod. And so I was thinking, oh my God, I was dealing with my grief. I really didn't see how much it impacted her. And I was just like, oh my God. We went to, we were in DC over the past weekend, and we went to the Black Museum, and we were literally just going down the escalator, and there was this little area where there's a gift shop. And I remember the first time I went, Mom was still here, and I remember calling her from the ATM to act like, what's your PIN number so I can get this cup from the credit card? And so we had a whole conversation in the gift shop. And so literally when I went down the stairs and I saw the same area, ball. Went to the bathroom, couldn't control it. Zola came in, Mom, are you okay? And I'm fine. Walking out, had to run back in, ball. And she's like, are you okay? And so I'm trying to keep it up for her. And I was like, I just miss, your mom. I mean, I miss your grandma, my mom. And then she turned to me and she said, I miss her too. And I was like, dang, a lot of her emotions come from that, and then everything else to live with. So it's amazing to know that. I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because kids are getting therapy, and that's something I would never have thought about, or we would have never done.
Like this ever. Yeah.
Right.
Frankie, did you tell her why?
So I think it's a testament, and it goes right back to.
Frankie, did you tell her did you tell her like what sparked your emotions so she could understand it better?
I didn't.
Why not?
I didn't until afterwards, because I knew if I talked about it then, I didn't want to ruin the trip, because she's a super empath too, so she feels my feelings. And so I feel like if I would have went deeper, I would have ruined her day, because I cry all the time about it. And she's like, you're okay. She's just like, I'm a hot mess. But if I would have gave her that extra reason, I think it would have made her sadder. Yeah. Right. Knowing that she can't do anything about that. And so that's hard, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think to Penny's point, I think it is good to sometimes explain, what's going on with you. I was thinking about that when she was sharing, because, sometimes I tell my kids, listen, mommy's tired. I've had a long day, and, I just need a few minutes to myself, or this is what I need for you guys to do so that mommy can be a better mommy, or this is what's bothering me right now, and I'm feeling pretty down about that. And to their credit, even if they don't understand the context, they can understand the emotion, right? So even if it's not something that they've necessarily experienced, they know mommy feels down, or she's upset, or she's sad. They come and they give me their little hugs, or a little kiss on the cheek or something, or, okay, mom, I'll go do this. Even my 5-year-old, okay, mom, I'm going to draw you something. And I said, oh, please, that'll make me feel better, that kind of thing. So it does help them build those kind of sympathy skills and empathy, and realizing, okay, they start asking, what can I do? Just as much as you have said, well, how can I make you feel better, or what's wrong with you? I think it does give them a chance to also grow in those that kind of social emotional learning and awareness, to say, okay, how can I support this person too? And I think as moms, sometimes it's hard to accept that from kids, because we have to be strong, or we have to, be the leader in terms of demonstrating what we want them to do, but we actually have to give them a chance to practice it back, right? So that we know that they have it. And especially with us, because we don't want to be untouchable, too, when we're going through our stuff. And I think too, when I've grieved the loss of my mom as well, publicly, especially in front of my oldest daughter, and she's an empath too. And I would just look at her like, why are you crying? And it's like, well, she's sad because I'm sad. She sees me hurting. And so that, right. And so it's kind of like, I need to let her feel that too, because my mother's loss affected me. My mother is passed. My daughter's 13, and my mother passed 13 years ago. So I had my daughter, and 4 months later, my mother died. So, going through that whole season of, as one came, one left, and okay, I'm supposed to be walking into motherhood, and here I have lost my mother. And that acknowledging that grief and in that space has taken me 12 years, 13 years to say, okay, this is where things are, and how much, even though she was small, that absence affected her life too. And so, I think it is important to give them that, because we have to teach them how to express their emotions and manage them in a way that's positive. You can feel this way, but how do you respond? How do you act now? Okay, you can be angry, but let's not make a long-term decision in your anger that's temporary. That kind of thing. And being able to say, I'm sorry, or, being able to say like, okay, well, I'm having a bad day. I don't want to do anything. Moms have bad days too, or, I don't want to clean my room. My biggest thing with my kids now is to make them partners, truthfully. They're older, they can handle more responsibility. and more things around the house. So I'm like, there's 5 of us here, but we all have to clean up after each other. If we want to do things, we have to realize, oh, well, you didn't make that mess, or you didn't. Okay, I get it, but everybody uses the toilet and I have to clean it. So, like we all are participating together. If I said I'm not going to clean the dishes in the sink because I didn't make the dish, make the mess, where would we be? So trying to get them to partner and understand that, it's not just for one person, it's for all of us. Like, we're working together. I hope we'll make a difference, I hope they'll get that and use that, but there's, like you said, there's no book for it. Trial and error.
There's no book. That's rich. That's rich. I'm learning so much because I keep everything inside. So just to hear that you guys are saying I'm sorry, telling them why you're sad, I'll go in the room and close the door, and I'm like, don't even knock on it for the next 2 days, and won't tell nobody why, right? And then come out and be happy about it. And they be like, what you been doing for the last 2 days?
You're caught.
And I don't share.
We're caught. We're right on the cusp of what is it, Gen X and millennial. I think we're right there.
And the millennials,
right? You know what I'm saying? We're like late 70s, early 80s.
Millennials.
Yeah, right. We're right there. And so as a result of being caught, we have, it happens to me all the time. On one hand, because I'm in this space of diversity, equity, inclusion, I'm teaching adults now how to talk about their feelings and how to be empathic with other people that are different from them at work. There's a whole profession teaching adults how to do this, right? So we now are like, oh, this is important, even in business, even in the work world. So because it's so important, let's try to teach our children these, giving language to emotion and creating psychologically safe spaces. We're in that mode now, trying to do that. But there's a little devil here on our shoulder that's from the old school, that's from the baby boomer generation, that's like, kids, what problems do you have? You don't even have no problems. You don't have no bills. What you worried about? What you crying about? What you upset about? All you gotta do is get up, make up.
You ain't walk to school 15 miles with no shoes on.
Exactly. Like snow. Like what? Right. What? You suck it up. You got this. You're gonna be all right. We got to teach them to have some tough skin. So look, Frankie's like shaking her head vigorously, right? So you have this thing. I don't want to coddle them. I don't want to create, little powder puffs over here to where they're, just in the corner over each little thing. I want to build resiliency. How do I balance building resiliency with being open and creating psychologically safe spaces to talk about emotions and things like that without them being too overly sensitive? So how do I, and so this, we're new to this. This is the first time ever, because we grew up latchkey kids, suck it up, buttercup. There's absolutely no certificate for participation was happening, right? It was gold medal, bronze medal, 1, 2, 3. Everybody else lost.
That's it.
We had
there's winners and there's losers. Ain't nothing else.
We had no choice but to create coping mechanisms out of survival. So we are the first generation that can now parent not being in survival mode. The first generation that can go to work and have a paycheck that covers enough to put food on the table. The first generation to have 2 parents, whether they're in the home or not, but 2 parents that can contribute to the emotional and financial and social well-being of the child. First generation to do this. So we definitely don't have a playbook. We definitely, our pendulums are swinging all over the place because we're trying to keep them resilient, but at the same time, we're trying to create psychologically intelligent, emotionally intelligent human beings. Now, I will say the thing for me that has helped me the most, and that I tell every parent, because I'm like, it's free, you got to do it. I am very much a fan of DISC, DISC, C, and it's a personality assessment, just like, you know, Myers-Briggs and some of the other ones that we grew up knowing. But DISC is quick. It's super quick. It's free. It's online, and it's color coded. And I really love the colors. So once you figure out what your personality is as a person, then it definitely correlates into your parenting style and your parenting technique. The key is to have your child take that test. And they when your child takes that test and you get kind of in a ballpark, because they're growing, so it could change for them, but for the most part it tends to stay the same. But when your child takes that test and they get their color, now the magic is, okay, I know I'm a high C. I know that I'm very much by the book, a rules-based person, I'm a get it right person. You take your time and you get it right the first time. You know what my grandmother would say, measure twice, cut once.
Oh, I said that.
I'm that person. Right?
That's it.
I'm that person. My husband has qualities like that. My little one, he's got qualities. He's very dominant. He's a D, right? He's the boss baby. He's the little boss baby. He's coming in with the little briefcase, like, I'm going to tell you what to do and you're going to do it.
Hurry up.
Yeah. Oh, she was in the car with me when he was telling me, he was in the backseat telling me how to drive, and he was in his the little bumper seat.
Our seat?
Yeah.
Oh,
and he's like, Mommy, slow down. Mommy, you know. So we all have our
booster seat.
And knowing your personality trait and how it relates to somebody else's who's very different. So my poor daughter is on the opposite end of the wheel as me. And it comes out in all of our communication and all of our interactions where, you know, she comes home and she wants to just vomit all this information about what happened at school. And on one hand, I'm like, it's good. She's opening up. She's talking to me. She's telling me. On the other hand, I'm like, get to it, honey, because I got stuff to do. I got at least 5 emails. I got 2 more calls. I got to get dinner on the table. So I thank you, but can you hurry up and get to the point?
Yep.
Because I just asked you how your day was, and I just need to know if it's good or bad, so we can keep rolling. I don't need to know what Nate told Will, who told Susie.
I was just being rhetorical.
Like, can we roll it? But that's my personality, right? So I have to realize hers is very different than mine. So I tell every parent, I'm like, go to get a little free assessment and learn their personality style as well as yours, and then that's where the hard part is, though, because that's the hard part in terms of learning how to communicate with each other, especially if you have a different style than your child.
I gotta do that.
Hey, so let's edit this out, but I think we should write a book.
Okay, make it quick. Make it quick, Sam.
We should write a book called Parenting Playbook. We should each take a section of it.
Look, Angel, let's go. I'll take a chapter.
Okay.
Parenting Playbook.
Since you already award-winning and published.
Yes.
Right.
Let your follow-up be dents in the moms, okay?
Yeah.
So we got a lot of dents. We ain't talking about that same.
No.
So Frankie, when you go back and edit, remind us about this conversation about the Parenting Playbook to do the disc.
I got you.
All right.
I gotcha. We'll just rewind it and cut the tape. Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm a big one for like, hurry up. Or I think I'm just 100% boomer. I don't have any millennial when it comes to parenthood. I just repeat whatever the spirit says through my mom to say.
Short answer.
I'm quick with it. Hush it up. It's done. Wash it up. Don't ask questions. I said it. It's done. No. Why?
Because I said so.
You know, I don't leave room for argument or talk about. We're not going to have a conversation about why.
Yeah, sometimes that is necessary.
You know, I'm just like, what I say goes.
Right. Sometimes it is necessary. You know, my son asked me today, I said, get off the game and sweep the floor. So he said, well, why do I need to sweep the floor? I said, because I said so. Like, look down at the floor. It needs to be swept. Like, this is end of story. Like, you shouldn't even be questioning me as to why. You should just do it. You know, I was like, flabbergasted, like, what you mean? You know, but he is also the son he's the one who pushes. My first child will do it, you know. The second one, he has to ask why, you know, and then the third one is like tears, but okay, you know, she'll try, she'll do her best, You know, it's like I put her in prison. You know, she's like doing manual labor in prison. You know, like that's her, but she'll do it. So, you know, it's like sometimes you do have to say, because I said so, and that is it. You know, if you can't see why, then, you know, go with God, but you still have to do it.
That's it. So be prepared, pal, for baby number 2. It's a whole game changer.
Right.
Okay, the second one throws you for a loop.
Oh, yeah. They all
right.
do.
The first one's like Saint Maria. The second one's like Master P. All right, he gonna make you say,
Listen, I ask my kids a question, and I'm like,
for real.
Short answer, short. They're like, blah blah blah. I'm like, short answer, yes or no. And I'm like, did you whatever? And they're like, blah blah blah. Short answer. The answer is yes or no. I don't want the rest.
Your kids are quite loquacious,
Yes,
but I wonder where they get that from.
They are.
Yes.
They are. Short answer.
You're quite loquacious.
That's gonna help them on their
and so
SATs.
this is rich.
Not today.
Oh yeah, there we go. You know, pal, what'd you call me? A lingual file. I'm a person that loves words, right?
I like that.
We went to the word museum just because I like words. How corny is that? But it was the best museum ever.
Pretty corny.
All right. So as we're wrapping up, I wanted 2 more questions and we're done. All right. First one is, what's your favorite part about being a mom? You can either pick favorite or I even say unfavorite. Then if you say unfavorite, you can make it up for the second question. But what's your most favorite thing or unfavorite thing about being a mom?
All of it.
Oh, you like it all.
I love it all.
You know, it's the joy that it brings me.
Mhm.
Like, even when was like at the lowest point of my life, just looking at my son, just brought a sense of happiness and joy that nothing else could bring. And you see them and they grow into they have these little personalities they develop, and you're like, oh, you're funny like me, like, you know what I mean? Or you're like, somebody will say, like, he's doing really good in school, and his grandma, I was like, oh, he's smart like me, you know what I mean? And his grandma would be like, oh yeah, he definitely got it from you, you know what I mean? You know, it's just seeing that you made this person, right? And you're trying to shape them and mold them, right? But when their real little selves come out, and you see, like, I'm doing okay, right? I'm doing my job. I'm raising this little person, and you know, I'm proud of what I've made, right? I'm proud to be a part of this. This is the best thing I've ever created, right? You know, not like,
I love that.
I mean, you know, it's lots of things you have your hands on in life, but I mean, this is full on. Yeah. This is you. And when you can be proud of what you've done, or, you know, your part in it, because, you know, it takes 2, right? To create this little bundle of joy who can also get on your nerves. But yeah, I'm just happy with, you know, what I've been blessed with. It was a blessing I didn't know I needed, you know.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
I like to say to my kids, oh, I make nice things, you know, or when people compliment my children, I say, yeah, I did that. I was in my bag when I made her. You know?
Look at her hair. I made that.
I was on something when I made him. I did that, you know. I say we did that.
Y'all are silly.
We did. I think too, when I mean, sometimes you got to just pat yourself on the back, like, oh, I did that, you know. Look at them representing themselves well, you know, and being a good reflection of us. Yes. And I think my favorite parts are when we're all happy, when we do family things together, and like everyone is just enjoying each other's company and they're not arguing with each other or yelling. But especially as siblings, you know, everyone's in different phases. So, you know, my teen is like, she wants to be in her room all day, and why do I have to associate with my siblings, and can I have time alone? so when I pull her out of her room and she's interacting with her brother, who typically gets on her nerves, and all he wants to do is be up under his sister because that's his big sister, and they actually getting along, and then they incorporate the little one in there. That's when I'm happy, when they're together and they could just be playing together or watching something. But when I see all three of them laughing together or showing each other, kindness, they're taking care of one another, that's when I feel the most joy, because it's like one day it will just be the three of you, and I want you guys to be able to love each other, be upset, but love each other, look out for one another. I'm an only child too, so I think I really felt that when I lost my mom. Only children, we're a little spoiled, but it's all good. And I was the first grandchild, the first niece, the first everything. So I had it pretty good growing up. But I want them to have each other and realize that if you don't go through life with anybody else, this is your person, and so when they have those moments and they're building their own bonds together, that makes me feel really good. And it's not forced, it's just authentic, just them being themselves. That's when I feel good.
I love it. Penny or Angel, what you got?
I was gonna say, I think for me it's the mundane things, like if my daughter's sitting on the couch and she's got her phone in her, because it's glued at this position, right? It's glued like right there in front of her face, even while she's eating. You're like, gotta put it down. But she'll just be sitting there and she'll be watching the show on Netflix, and I'll just kind of glimpse the profile of her, and I literally see the past, present, and future all in that glimpse. I see bits and pieces of my grandmother and my father, and myself, my husband. It's just all wrapped up there in one. And then I think to myself, I'm literally looking at the future, literally, and whether I'm, no matter how long I live, I get to look at the future right now. And she's gonna grow up and be a productive member of society and do great things and touch people in a way that I can't or never could. She's gonna meet people I'll never meet, and touch them and change their lives and put her fingerprint in this world. And just blessed that I have, a part of it. And I say the same thing when I look at my son. Like, we all joke around like, oh, he's going to grow up and he's going to own his own company. He's going to have his own business, employing thousands of people, and it's like, wow, God has blessed me. I joke, I tell people, I'm like, I feel like Moses. Like, I might not get to the promised land. I might not see, 2070. But I'm looking at it right now with them through their eyes. So it's a blessing.
Pen?
To be a part of that.
That's amazing. I love it.
With all of you guys. I love as crazy as they are, I just love knowing that, I helped create that, like they're mouthy and crazy and moody, and then they're kind and sweet and gentle. And, my son doesn't hesitate to get up and do something or help somebody or whatever. Although he gives me slack about sweeping the floor, won't hesitate to run down the street and help the neighbor move or whatever, and even as mouthy and crazy my daughter is, so she's so kind and sweet and loving, and they're jerks all at the same time. And so it's just joyful, like all of it, as busy as we are, as busy as we're not, running them around errands, complaining about not sleeping, doing things literally every day last week for each one of them. And, I love it. I love just being pulled in and involved, and just being able to be a contributing factor in how they're growing up. So all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifference, all of it.
Yeah, I love that. I echo all of that. My biggest thing is just to see when my two girls are sitting in a room and Zola's reading Zarin a book. Or if she's playing with her, because kids don't, the siblings don't, the big kids don't play with the little kids. So just for her to slow down and have patience with her sister and hold her hand and walk her across the street. We were at a banquet today, and Zarin sat on Zola's lap, and they were just kind of kissing and hugging. And I was just like, that just warms my heart, because they're going to be what's left, right? We're old parents, okay? We're knocking on 50 and 4. No, we're knocking on about 50 and 60, right? And we started all late. Well, I know I did. We all of us did. You still young. And so to see them there is really fulfilling to me. I love that, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Like you said, Penny, as busy as you are, I'm happy that this is the life I've created. Because I remember as much work as my mom did, she never missed a track meet. Never missed a track meet. And I'm like, boy, that was hard, because she worked swing shift, and she couldn't be there for a lot of stuff, but the stuff that I cared about, she never missed a beat. And I was just like, wow, that's dedicated. And I know she was tired, right? And they showed up, and they remember, pal, they were the loudest people in the stands. And I was just like, how did they do that with all of that, right? Okay, and so lastly, what advice would you give your younger self as a mom with the knowledge that you know now? What advice would you give yourself as a mom, young mom, based on what you know now?
Patience, honey. It's okay. I would tell myself to drop the mom guilt. I spent a good portion of my daughter's life with a whole lot of mom guilt. Because I did not work 9 to 5. I worked, I don't know, 6:30 to
up to sundown.
Just the nature of being in IT. It's round the clock, answering emails and having meetings and things like that. And there was a lot of mom guilt in terms of not spending enough time with her, and dropping her off at the nanny or at the daycare or whatever, hours at the daycare. And I remember I would sit there and count, oh gosh, she's been there, and then I'm late to aftercare. I'm late picking her up at aftercare. She's been there since something o'clock this morning, and here I am peeling in on 2 wheels at 5:45 trying to pick her up before they close at 6 o'clock. And there was just so much guilt.
I used to be 5:57 turning on 2 wheels. Okay.
Exactly.
I was getting there 2 minutes before. Okay. Like, hold on. And then you feel bad because your child, the last child there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So tons of mom guilt. And I would just tell myself to just, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one, because I feel you totally. I'm a pharmacist, so healthcare is all day long. I never had a 9 to 5. I ever, like, from the time I started working, from the time I graduated college, I've never had a 9 to 5. My schedule has always been either work mornings, mid, evening, and I missed so much. I missed him taking his first steps. I missed him, just different things. I missed some of his games, his plays, his this, his that, because I was working, and I hated that. And I, to this day, still, I beat myself up when I can't go to something that, especially now that he's older and he can say, you're not
I
coming,
want you there.
and I'd be like, oh, you know what I mean? And like, I literally, took this job that I have now to work from home and just to have a little bit more flexibility, but it's still healthcare. So I'm still missing some things, but I get more weekends off. So I get to go to those things that I used to miss. And, his dad's at all of it, right? Because he has that 9 to 5. He has the more flexible job. He has the, and so it's like, I can't be at the things he's at. The mom guilt is so real. It's so real. So yes, if you could give yourself some, a little pep talk before, like, it's okay. Give yourself some grace, girl, because you're doing the best you can. You got bills to pay. You got to make it work, so definitely to give yourself some grace.
Yeah, I agree with mom guilt as well. And then what I would say too is, memories are so important. So it's important to start doing that sooner. Like, I would have started, if I didn't go through my separation the way it went down, I probably would have started vacationing sooner, because, they're so important just to get away from the day to day and create this new thing. Just memories are just so important. Like the silly, stupid things you do are so important. So just even if day to day is crazy, just pulling away and doing something that you guys do together. So our summer vacation, our spring break vacation, our fall vacation, they're so important to help us reconnect, recharge. There's always fighting and chaos and craziness. And then there's always like love and the beach and water. Uh-oh, is that us?
No.
Oh,
That was
Keep going.
The memories are so important. So it's important that even though it's crazy, create those memories, because those core memories are what they're going to take away. So hopefully when my kids are older and I'm the gray old parent, they're going to be like, Mom, come to vacation with us. And I'm going to be like, of course. I'll go watch the kids by the beach. Go do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So I think memories are important.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
I would say lastly too, just echoing what we said before, just not being afraid to ask for help, right? And just acknowledging that you can't do everything, or, that you don't know everything. I think for me, that's a big one. Just, you want to be, you think that you're protecting yourself or them by not asking for help, when it may be outside help is what they need all along, which was what was echoed earlier. And I think that that's a big thing that I would say to my younger self.
That's a good one. I would echo that. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What would I say? I would say have more patience with myself. Have more patience, Frankie, with your children. And let them know how much you love them. As much as my mom let me know she loved me, I didn't get it via hugs or kisses. I did, but nowhere near to the amount of affection that I shower on my kids. I probably give them too much. I'm just always like, because I'm like, but they know that they do that, and I say I love you a lot, right? And so I think just letting them know that is important. In order to keep them moving forward, I think it's a big one. But mom guilt is the theme, I think, of anybody's. I think I have the opposite of that, because I'm always home. I'm a stay-at-home mom / everything else. So I'd be dying to get out the house, right? If anything, I got the opposite of that. I'm like, see you later. But then I have to realize I'm blessed because I can do that. And my niece reminds me of that a lot. She's like, Auntie, I know you want to do this, but look at what you can do versus everybody else. You can attend everything. You can go everywhere. When you come home, they're here. So be thankful for that. And I really had to shift my perspective to say, okay, I'm doing something different than my mom did. Because, Pal, when we were home, we got off of school, we were there by ourselves. Angel said it earlier, we were latchkey kids. So we made our own meals. We did our own thing, and I'm just thankful that I can do that. So I appreciate that, guys. So I thank you so much. I think this has been a really rich conversation just about motherhood and realness. Shout out to therapy. Shout out to Libations for keeping us steady. Shout out to Funky for keeping us up. I think it's a real cheers, ladies. There we go to that. I want to shout out, of course, the most important people that are here, and we wouldn't be here without them. So I love you so much, Zola. I love you so much, Zarin, Jair, Faith, Hope. I love my godchildren. Ron, Lizzie. Where would I be without my teenagers and my bonus son?
Right.
Mariah, DJ. You guys are amazing. Carter, I love you to the life of me. Also, Braxton and Tyler, we shout you out, because without you, we would not be here. So, from Moms Be Talking / Church Folks Be Talking, it's another session in the books. And I'm so happy and thankful that you guys were here, being open, honest, transparent, my besties, and most important, moms.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you all.
This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like we're all like brunching. We're talking and we're brunching.